Nicely done by Morgan Parra. Well, what a way to bite back. The tactic straightforward enough. The high ball on a wet old night.
Well, Canada must look at what happened there. They must use the ball sensibly. They can put France under pressure in exactly the same way, as long as they're kicking spot on.
Good hanging restart there from Pritchard, but equally well gathered by Bonaire. There's Parra. William Servat talking about the inspiration of 1987. Well, that man Servat, the eldest man in the starting 15 here, he would have been 9 back in 87, but he's been involved in 1 or 2 French campaigns here since. They've got such a good record in this part of the world. There's Munro. Aaron Carpenter, the number 8. Plays his club rugby in the Championship in England, formerly with Coventry, now with Plymouth Albion. There's Sinclair. There's Chauncey O'Toole. Those two really impressed during the Churchill Cup in the English summer. Hoisted by Munro. Same tactic. Oh, it's gone loose. The fullback's missed it. It's loose. Have they got the try? They certainly think they have, and it's been awarded. Well, they're not slow learners, are they? And it looks as if it's Ryan Smith who's gone through to get the final touch. There he is. His first try in the World Cup. Ryan Smith. His 49th appearance today for Canada.
What a stunner from Munro, though. Anything you can do, I can do better. The chase of the kick from Van der Merwe. The ball bounced loose. What an incredible response there. Ryan Smith touching the ball down, but pandemonium in the French defence.
Well, Marc Lièvremont can't get through a fortnight without selecting Damien Try in his team. He seems to find a place for him in almost every lineup. I wonder if he's regretting his call there. Pritchard makes it a 7-pointer. Well, we got quite a game, haven't we?
Well, we've seen a few up and unders in this Rugby World Cup so far, so being used today with devastating effect. 2 tries, 2 mistakes. But Van der Merwe certainly put pressure on there, but it was the pinpoint accuracy of Ander Munro, the fly half who used to ply his trade for Edinburgh and the Heriots Club back in Edinburgh.
Well gathered there by Carpenter. Back to Ander Munro. Yes, Munro, he actually represented Scotland, didn't he, at 3 age groups. Born in Toronto. Played relatively recently in Italy for one of the lower league clubs there, but now living back in Canada. Missed a lot of rugby at the start of the season with Ander Munro. Made his return at the Churchill Cup in June, which was another very successful one for Canada. In that 16 tournament, in each of the last 2 years, Canada have got through to the final. And it wasn't the straightest, was it?
Well, the knock-on as well coming in, so the mistakes. Well, if you think about, we've had a number of handling errors already, and we've only got less than 10 minutes on the clock. By the end of the game, it's going to be well into double figures. It's which team copes with the conditions well, who concentrates when that ball is either up in the air or along the ground or when it's being passed. So important to ensure that you protect the ball and the possession.
Crouch.
There's Fufu, Fulgence Ouedraogo.
Pause. Engage. Wind up.
Penalty to Canada. Penalised Jean-Baptiste Poux for binding. Well, the French have had problems with their number 1 position. The left prop, as they call it in France, the loose head. Thomas Domingo of Clermont-Auvergne. He picked up an injury towards the end of the last French season, not available to come. Fabien Barcella, who maybe a couple of weeks towards the end of 2009 was the best loose head in the world. Well, he's been injured virtually ever since, although he is here. And he got through 80 minutes at the weekend, but Jean-Baptiste Poux there, being put through his paces by Jason Marshall. He's been right in the thick of it, hasn't he, in the first few minutes, James Pritchard? just pushed wide. But those are the sort of opportunities that Canada have to take here.
Well, that's one way of wearing a fur coat. Keep you warm in this weather. Tronduc surely will go long there. The press defence will come on from France. They'll come up in a line. And indeed, Tronduc goes for the long one.
Carpenter just let it bounce. He saw Monroe steaming towards the ball. And again, the tactic working. Taken on by Carpenter. There's Fairhurst to Monroe. Van der Merwe's got real speed. Has spent a lot of his time playing rugby on the wing. Fairhurst again.
Run away, 7. Onside, 4.
There's Marshall. Feeding the left wing, Phil McKenzie.
Yeah.
McKenzie, who plays for Isha. Fairhurst. He's putting his head down there with Hubert Bidens. That's the France 22. Back to Monroe, the attempt at the drop. He struck it well, but he has just pulled it wide.
Canada with all the pressure. That was good purchase on the drop goal. Just didn't get the direction, Monroe. But a good effort here. Just squeezed to the left. But sprightly start by Canada. They've got the ricochets off the high balls, and they should just continue with that tactic. It's profitable.
Now, past history shows that France have beaten Canada 6 times out of 7. The only Canadian victory coming 17 years ago. But there was a significant result involving these two nations just 15 months ago at the Churchill Cup in Denver, where Canada beat a France A side 33-27. It was a cracking contest. And that French team included Maxime Médard and a host of full internationals. Julien Dupuis, I can remember, started at 9. And more than half of this starting 15 here for Canada were involved in that game. One point I would make is that the conditions were rather different. It was steaming hot in Denver, Colorado. Not the same here in Napier.
Well, Van der Merwe just bulleted his pass there.
Number 1.
And France will be able to settle. Good movement from Monroe. Van der Merwe, look at this, just a little bit fired at Chauncey O'Toole. O'Toole was spilt and then got bundled into touch.
Yes, the France A side, coached by Olivier Magna, who was over here in New Zealand. Fabien Pelouse, I remember, was the team manager. It was quite an embarrassing evening. And that will certainly be a source of inspiration, but this time penalised is Jason Marshall, the Canada tight head.
Well, interesting set of scrums. Jean-Baptiste Poux, he was penalised for slipping his binding up against Marshall. Marshall in that case, and that time penalised, and Tronduc will just clear down towards the 22.
He's made good meterage as well, has Tronduc.
I was going to say a bit of pressure came on from the second row as well on this Canadian 8.
The 3 bearded wonders there in the Canadian side have attracted a lot of publicity, particularly Adam Kleberger after his massive performance against Tonga. The other 2, Jeb Sinclair, on his way to London Irish after the tournament, and the loosehead Hubert Bidens. There it is for France. The familiar position there of Servat, popping out. The tackle from Sinclair. He had Poux for support. There it is for Para. Through goes Tronduc.
Move away, 4.
There's Para again to Servat. Good continuity from France here.
Onside, yeah.
There's Pascal Papé over the ball with Miloš Šlosky alongside him. Also Louis Picamol. That goes to Poux. Solid defence though from the Canadians. There's Luc Ducalcon, the Castres tight head. Very powerful man.
Great tackler, number 9.
And penalised is the scrum half, Ed Fairhurst.
Roll away.
So there's 3 points there if they want them.
Yeah, that was the first time we've seen actually France go through a number of phases of possession. Right from the line out, they then took the drive off the back, and it was just considered play. A lot tighter, a lot better from France.
Just going into tonight's game, New Zealand top of the table in Pool A with 10 points. France in second with 5 points, having got the try bonus point against Japan at the weekend. Canada with 4 after that win against Tonga. Tonga having picked up a losing bonus point in that game. They're down in 4th place. Japan yet to get off the mark. Of course, results elsewhere over the course of the last 24 hours or so. What a second weekend we're having at the World Cup. Well, they really have turned the draw upside down, haven't they? One half of the draw looking very much like it belongs to the Southern Hemisphere, and the other to the home countries. Well, there we go. And France, of course. Morgan Parra. Another successful kick there from the scrum half. All tied up, 10 points apiece.
Yeah, just on that last bit of play from France, William Servat absolutely key. His line-out throw was absolutely on the button. He was the one who took a couple of drives on, so important play from Servat.
There's a try scorer, Vincent Clair.
Far side red.
Tranduk is standing deep, but it first goes to Servat, who makes a couple of metres. This will be back to the fly half. Good dummy. Through 3 tackles, he did well in the end at the fly half. He could so easily have come unstuck a bit there. Parra just burrowing away for all the ball, but he's got himself tied in. And the Canadian hands there involved in the ruck. And there's Jamie Cudmore. The man who, well, he brings a bit of mongrel to any pack he's in, doesn't he, Scott?
He certainly does. Got himself into a bit of bother in the Heineken Cup against Munster when he got sent off early doors a couple of seasons ago. But on that occasion, the big second row, the Canadian second row went over the top. He was rightly penalised. You cannot handle, once that ruck forms, you cannot handle.
Well, it looks as if Jean-Baptiste Poux is going to have to go on here. Fabien Barcella will come on and replace him on a temporary basis. Any game time that Fabien Barcella can get will be very valuable. There had been a lot of concern in France that maybe Barcella was being rushed back. Picked up a bicep injury during the summer, but there's quite a sizable cut there, isn't there?
Yeah, there'll be a couple of stitches in that one. See, just as he goes, oh, he just caught a stud there from the flying boot of Biden's. Biden's just getting off the ground. He actually wearing the number 1 jersey. Look at the stud just come round, just clips him in the face. So just one of these nasty ones that occasionally happens on a rugby field, but he'll soon be stitched up and back on.
There is Barcella. He's got that bicep quite heavily strapped up, actually. Missed all of last season after rupturing an Achilles tendon, and that was in an Espoir game. That is essentially the second 15 down at Biarritz over the same weekend as the top 14 started, so it was, what, the middle of August last year. Missed all of last season. And really rushed back into this France squad for the World Cup. There goes Parra. 8 metres inside the Canada half. Vincent Clair, little dummy, bit of a slip, back up and running. Miloslavski. Servat puts his head down. Parra again to Tranduk. There's Momoz, combining with Damien Try.
Run away, 12!
Pascal Papé, who plays for Stade Francais, another club who've been through a few ups and downs in the last year or two. Marty, through goes David Marty, he's got Bonaire and also Vincent Clair, but the ball just behind Vincent Clair. But it was a terrific break there from the Perpignan centre.
Yeah, David Marty shows well. He's a good runner once he gets into his stride. Just couldn't quite find his winger on the outside.
Man down in the way.
What I liked about France's last line-out throw, Servat absolutely nailed Julien Bonaire. Bonaire round to Morgan Parra. Those two, of course, played in Bourgoin for quite a few seasons, and it's a great linkage